So, hello again. It's been a long while, I know, since I recorded an art talk, but it's been a phenomenally busy couple of months. First of all, of course, because I've been on the Royal Drawing School's online drawing year, which has unfortunately ended. It's really rather sad. I haven't actually had time to process it ending yet because I've just been running around like crazy, as usual, my husband would say. But it was just the most amazing experience. Some of these works I made on the course. It's been great fun and stimulating and inspiring and all the rest of it. This morning I took down my exhibition in Basel, which was very successful. I sold several pieces of work, which I am really pleased about. So yeah, that's delightful. I'll probably be there if I'm lucky again next year. This evening I'm giving my art school I call it my art circle, because most of the time we sit in a circle, or we sit in a circle and discuss art at the beginning and sit in the circle again to discuss our work at the end. And a circle is something nice and round. So I've been preparing for that today. And as you know, if you've been watching these things, I've been talking about ways of judging a work of art. So ways of judging that aren't purely subjective, because I believe strongly that we were put on the planet to communicate with other human beings. When we are born, we cannot survive. A deer is born and a little while later it can get up and walk around. Yes, of course it still needs its mother for milk, but it can start eating grass and so on. Whereas we cannot survive if we do not have other people around us, adults around us as babies. It's simply really not quite possible. So we are always dependent on other people. And with the whole algorithm, Instagram and WhatsApp movement, like you're watching me now, you can spend a lot of time on your own watching people, but not actually communicating with them. And I believe communication is vital. And of course, art is also a way of communicating with people. So it's important that when I make a work of art, someone sees it like you, and that it maybe comes home with you and brings you joy for a much longer period. So I'd like to talk about today about the internal infinity of a work of art. So I'm going to start with my favorite quote, which I've, funnily enough, read in different ways on the internet recently. And Heidegger was the person, I believe, probably said it quite in this way first. The philosopher Martin Heidegger. Great art gives us eyes for something that we could not see before. Small art only changes the form of what already exists. So it's always about a question of form. Specifically about the openness of form, which must be free from any kind of predetermination. It's a system of signs, free of content-related objectives. So, for example, if I'm painting an abstract picture, like that one up there, I start by making a mark. And then I think, what does that mark need to balance it? I don't think I want to paint a tree, or in that instance, I want to paint winter. Normally it's things that influence me, that I've heard, that I've seen, experiences, sights, sounds, smells, all the things that my senses pick up in the world out there, that bring me to making these marks, and sometimes something comes out of it. Sometimes I think of a greater picture and I don't know how to express it. So again, I start by putting colour on the canvas and then seeing how it progresses. It does, of course, mean I never know what I'm going to end up with. But I'm in good company, because Franz Marc and Kandinsky also said that. You cannot make a piece of work in your mind and then think you're going to paint that on your canvas. It's not going to work. Why? Because the work in your mind is spiritual, i.e. non-material, and the work you're going to make on the canvas is material. So you cannot, it won't work. What you've seen in your mind's eye probably won't look much like what's on your canvas afterwards. Anyway, we're talking about the openness of forms here. So forms without meaning. And I don't mean this as a concept. because openness of a work of art means it has to be a work and not a concept. It's about the so-called internal infinity of a work of art. What does internal infinity mean? It means that every work is infinitely interpretable. There is no expert or institution that can exclude meanings of that work of art. There is no exclusivity of meaning or significance for a certain group of people. Different interpretations do not exclude each other, but rather include and complement each other. The concept of internal infinity is therefore very important. There are two types of infinity. Primary infinity, something that can be counted infinitely. So, there's 1 banana, 2 bananas, 3 bananas, 4, so on. This is a linear form, and is what the philosopher Hegel called the bad kind of infinity, if I want to take it like that. He proposes another form of infinity, which follows a circular movement or a spiral movement, and is a movement that can be infinite. Hegel described this kind of infinity as an essential characteristic of the work of art in general. A work of art, therefore, has no external infinity. So it relates only to itself. You don't need to know anything about these pictures to enjoy them. This means that there are an infinite number of relationships to be discovered in every kind of art, in every work of art. That the dialogue with the work is an endless conversation. That's what I was saying before. We are here to communicate. And these guidelines, these aesthetic criteria that I've been looking at with you, are a way of communicating with other people. Because if I stay in my subjective meaning, I don't like it, or I like it, that leaves me alone, because I can't communicate that. I can say, I don't like it, that the conversation is finished. Or I can say, well, is it self-referential? Does it have expression? Is there got depth? Is there got movement? Is there light? Does it have an internal infinity? That means that you see something different, I see something different. We all can look at it and respond differently to that work of art. That's why it's so important to have these criteria. I know they're frightfully untrendy, and I know lots of people will fight me on this, but I think it is important because I don't think we're meant to be on our own. Like I said at the beginning, we're meant to have more than our subjective meaning, more than our subjective opinion, so that we can communicate with other people. I think that's enough for today. I'll go on about this again next week. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this art talk, leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.